chosen one. Hear this with the fullness of your spirit. Your calling has begun to wake up again. Something inside you that has been quiet for far too long. Something you thought was fading, buried, or forgotten is stirring with new life. You may not have the language for it yet, and you may not fully understand why you feel the way you do. But deep within you, a breath has returned. A pulse has reawakened. A movement has begun. And it's not random. It's not emotional drift. It's not imagination. It's divine. For a long time, you've walked through a silent season, one so quiet, so still, so barren, that you sometimes wondered if God had stepped away. You wondered if maybe you misheard him, misinterpreted the signs, or ruined something you were meant to carry. There were days when you felt invisible even to heaven, as if your prayers dissolved before reaching the throne. You carried dreams that felt too heavy, and promises that felt too distant. You pushed forward even when the path ahead felt sealed shut. But now, something is shifting. Something is cracking open in the unseen, and your spirit feels it before your understanding does. You're sensing a tension you can't explain, a restlessness, a sensitivity, a pull towards something greater. The things that once felt ordinary now stir you. The things that once felt comfortable now feel too small. The things you tolerated in your silent season suddenly feel misaligned with who you are becoming. This is the awakening. It's subtle yet undeniable. Quiet yet deeply disruptive. A whisper that carries more weight than a shout. If you've been feeling a strange mixture of anticipation and pressure, peace and discomfort, hunger and holy dissatisfaction, it's because your calling is no longer asleep. Your purpose isn't dormant. Your assignment is no longer hiding behind the curtain of delay. You are standing at the edge of a chapter that heaven has been preparing behind the scenes. And though you may not see the full picture yet, the shift is real. The signs are gathering. The atmosphere around your life is changing. And the season that once felt silent is now echoing with divine movement. Before this message is over, you will recognize the signs. You will understand what God has been doing. You will know deeply, unmistakably, that what is awakening in you is not ordinary, and that it's only the beginning. And as this stirring grows within you, there is something you need to understand, because what you're feeling right now is not simply emotional momentum or personal revival. It is God himself drawing nearer, speaking more clearly, and placing his hand upon your spirit in a way that marks a holy shift. The silence you walked through wasn't abandonment, it was preparation. And the awakening you feel now isn't coincidence, it's orchestration. For in the unseen, heaven has been observing every moment of your endurance. God has watched you wrestle quietly, believe stubbornly, and hold on when nothing made sense. Not once did he turn his face away. Not once did he overlook your tears, your confusion, or the weight you carried in isolation. He was shaping you when you felt forgotten. He was strengthening you when you felt stalled. And now at the appointed time, not a moment too early, not a moment too late, he is releasing a new sound into your spirit. This message arrives with the authority of his timing. It comes with the weight of his intentionality. It comes because the one who formed your calling is now breathing life back into what felt suspended. The hand of God is moving again, and you are being summoned into alignment with the very destiny your silent season was preparing you for. You may not realize it, but the stillness you endured was divine strategy. Before God awakens a calling, he quiets everything around it. Before he amplifies your purpose, he separates you from noise, distraction, and false voices. Before he pushes you into the next dimension, he brings you through a period where you can no longer depend on the things you once leaned on. That was not punishment. It was precision. It was the careful, deliberate crafting of a vessel that could carry the weight of what's coming next. And now that same God, the one who saw your hidden obedience, your silent battles, your unseen sacrifices, is speaking again. Not with thunder or spectacle, but with a clear, unmistakable resonance, a holy pressure, a divine stirring, a whisper that feels louder than any noise you've ever heard. Because when God reawakens a calling, He doesn't shout you into purpose. He draws you into it. As this message continues, I want you to hear these words, not as mere encouragement, but as confirmation. God is not simply inspiring you, He is identifying you. He is marking the season you are stepping into. He is making it known that He has returned to the forefront of your journey, not because He was ever absent, but because the appointed hour for activation has arrived. And soon signs will follow. Clarity will follow. Movement will follow. Doors and alignments and opportunities will follow. But for now, let this truth settle deeply into your spirit, and God is the one awakening your calling. What is happening within you is sacred, intentional, and heaven-authored. The silence is over. The stirring is real. And every shift you've been sensing is God preparing to unveil the next chapter. And now that your spirit is awake enough to perceive it, let me reveal what has truly been unfolding around you. The stirring you feel is not just an internal shift, it is the manifestation of a prophecy that has been quietly maturing over your life. God has been aligning circumstances, removing hindrances, repositioning relationships, and resetting your spiritual atmosphere so that your calling could rise from beneath the layers of delayed distraction and spiritual suppression. This awakening is the signal that heaven has moved you into a new phase, one where what was once hidden begins to surface, and what was once dormant begins to breathe again. For a long time, your calling lived beneath the soil, developing roots, gaining strength, waiting for the right season. It wasn't dead, it was planted. And now, just as seeds respond to a shift in the atmosphere, your spirit is responding to the divine climate change occurring around your destiny. Here is the prophecy. Your silent season was the womb of your assignment, and now the birth pains have begun. Not in chaos, not in catastrophe, but in awakening and inner expansion that announces, it's time. God is resurrecting what life tried to bury. He is reactivating what delay tried to stall. He is renewing what discouragement tried to weaken. You are stepping into a season where the unseen becomes visible, where the uncertain becomes clear, and where the impossible becomes attainable. Not because circumstances suddenly improved, but because God has declared movement. This is why you've been feeling a subtle tension, almost like standing between two realities. One part of you still feels tied to where you've been, yet another part feels pulled toward where you're going. That tension is prophetic. It's the evidence that heaven is transitioning you. You're stepping out of the identity shaped by your silent season and stepping into the identity shaped by your calling. God is removing the old garments, old fears, old doubts, old labels, old limitations. He's breaking the mental patterns you developed while surviving. He's interrupting the narratives that made you question your worthiness. Because your calling cannot rise while you are clothed in the remnants of who you used to be. You may notice this shift through sudden discomfort in familiar environments. People who once felt aligned may now feel distant. Conversations that used to satisfy you now feel empty. Environments that once felt safe now feel restricting. This is not loss, it is liberation. God is detaching you from anything that cannot accompany you into the next dimension. And as those attachments break, your spiritual senses heighten. You hear differently, you feel differently, you discern differently, you hunger differently. What you once tolerated becomes intolerable. What you once overlooked now grips your attention. This is because your calling is awakening, and awakened purpose sharpens perception. The prophecy continues. God is accelerating the revealing of your identity. There are parts of you that even you haven't fully met yet. Strength you didn't know you carried wisdom. You didn't know you possessed authority. You didn't know you could walk in. These parts were forged in silence, and now they're rising with intention. You are going to notice an internal clarity about who you are and who you're not. You'll sense where you belong and where you don't. You'll recognize opportunities that were never meant for you, and you'll feel drawn to doors you once thought were out of reach. This is not instability, it is direction. And with that direction comes a divine pulling. Not a push, not a pressure, but a pull, a gentle yet undeniable draw towards something greater than your current surroundings. God is not forcing you forward. He is awakening you forward. And as this awakening intensifies, you'll begin to see the signs. You'll understand the meaning. You'll recognize the confirmation. But first, before we explore the signs themselves, you must understand the depth of what this awakening means and why God chose now, after such a long, silent season, to breathe life into your calling once again. And to understand why this awakening carries so much weight, you have to look beyond the surface of your experience. You have to see the spiritual architecture behind what God is doing. Because this isn't simply a moment of motivation or a surge of emotional energy. This is a pattern, a blueprint, a spiritual sequence that God has followed with every person He has ever called. Before God reveals a calling, He allows a silent season. Before He transitions a life, He strips away the noise around it. Before He brings someone into clarity, He permits a period that feels like holy confusion. Think of Joseph. Before the dream came alive, he was pulled into isolation. Think of Moses. Before he became a deliverer, he lived hidden in the wilderness. Think of David, anointed yet sent back to sheep. Think of Elijah, powerful yet led into stillness. Think of Jesus Himself. 30 years quiet, 3 years revealed. The silence is never empty, it's formative. It's heaven's workshop. It's where identity is balanced, purified, and strengthened away from public eyes. Your silent season wasn't a sign of separation from God. It was evidence that you were being handled directly by Him. When God intends to trust someone with a calling that carries weight, He begins by removing the external voices that compete with His own. He lets everything fall quiet so that when He speaks again, you can recognize the tone, the texture, the frequency of His voice without confusion. And that's what's happening now. Your ears have changed. Your hunger has changed. Your discernment has changed. Because the silence trained you. But there's more. Your silent season also served as a spiritual pruning. God cut away branches that were growing in the wrong direction, not to weaken you, but to make room for the fruit your calling will bear. Some connections had to fade, some desires had to die, some doors had to stay shut because they were not aligned with the destiny God was shaping in you. You weren't being delayed, you were being protected. You weren't being denied, you were being prepared. You weren't being overlooked, you were being refined. And refinement isn't glamorous. It feels tight, lonely, confusing, and often painful. But spiritually, it is the highest form of love. Because God refuses to let you carry a calling you are not yet equipped to sustain. He refuses to let you step into a realm that would destroy you before it fulfills you. And now that the refining has done its work, the awakening has begun. There is also a deeper meaning in the timing. God revives callings not when you feel ready, confident, or strong. He revives them when He decides the foundation is firm. That is why this awakening has surprised you. It's why it feels sudden, disruptive, almost out of sync with your circumstances. From your viewpoint, life doesn't look ideal for purpose. But from God's viewpoint, your spirit is finally conditioned to handle it. The long silence humbled you, balanced, you matured you, and separated the true desire from the impulsive one. Now what awakens in you isn't driven by ego, fear, comparison, or desperation. It's driven by divine alignment. This is why the stirring feels sacred. This is why the pull feels weighty. This is why the restlessness feels holy. Your calling is awakening, because the season of preparation has been completed. And now God is about to confirm it, not with theory, not with vague emotions, but with signs that will manifest clearly in your life. And now that you understand the spiritual meaning behind this awakening, it's time to recognize the signs, because God never stirs a calling without leaving evidence. He never awakens destiny without marking the atmosphere around your life. These signs are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are the fingerprints of heaven, showing you that what you're sensing is real, intentional, and divinely timed. Here are 10 signs your calling is awakening after a long, silent season. 1. Your sensitivity has increased. You notice things you used to overlook. You feel emotions more deeply, discern energy more quickly, and sense spiritual shifts without anyone explaining them. Your spirit is more aware, more receptive, more tuned in. This sensitivity is not weakness, it's spiritual calibration. 2. You feel restless where you once felt comfortable. Environments that used to feel like home now feel limiting. Conversations that once filled you now feel shallow. Opportunities that once excited you now feel misaligned. This restlessness is heaven's way of loosening your grip on what no longer fits your identity. 3. Old desires are fading and new ones are forming. What you used to crave no longer satisfies you. What you once pursued no longer interests you. Yet there is a growing pull towards something deeper, more meaningful, more aligned with your purpose. This shift in appetite is a sign of spiritual maturation. 4. You feel drawn towards solitude again, but not in the same painful way. The silence no longer feels empty. It feels sacred. Being alone doesn't feel like isolation anymore. It feels like instruction. Something inside you craves space, reflection, and communion with God. Your spirit recognizes that something is being downloaded. 5. You can sense when people or environments are no longer for you. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. Your discernment has sharpened. You immediately feel misalignment. You sense when someone's chapter in your life is closing. You feel God pulling you from certain circles without anger or explanation. 6. Your inner voice has become louder and clearer. Not the voice of insecurity or fear, the voice of direction. You feel nudges, warnings, confirmations, ideas and impulses that carry a weight you can't ignore. Your spiritual intuition has awakened. 7. You feel both excitement and fear at the same time. This is one of the clearest signs of calling. A holy tension. A pull towards something bigger than you can rationally explain. You feel anticipation, but also trembling peace, but also urgency. This mixture is the emotional signature of divine assignment. 8. Old wounds are resurfacing not to harm you, but to heal you. God is bringing closure, resolution, and release to things you buried. Not to hurt you, but to free you. Your calling cannot rise from a foundation still tangled in old pain. 9. Unexpected opportunities. Ideas or connections keep appearing. Doors you didn't knock on, thoughts you didn't plan. People who appear at the exact moment you needed confirmation. These aren't coincidences, they're divine alignments, signaling that movement has begun. 10. You feel a knowing and unexplainable inner recognition that something is shifting. You can't describe it, but you feel it. A deep internal certainty that your life is transitioning. A quiet awareness that you're standing on the threshold of something holy, something destined, something long awaited. And as these signs intensify, you may notice emotional and spiritual challenges rising as well. Not to stop you, but to prepare you. because every awakening comes with resistance, and every calling comes with a refining fire. But those challenges are part of the journey, part of the shaping part of the strengthening part of the unfolding of your destiny. And with every sign of awakening, there comes a set of challenges, quiet battles that rise within you, not as punishment, but as preparation. These challenges are subtle, emotional, internal, and often misunderstood. Yet they are some of the clearest indicators that your calling is coming alive again. Because whenever God awakens destiny, the soul must adjust. The mind must stretch. The heart must release what can't go forward. And the enemy, sensing the shift, tries to unsettle what God is establishing. So if you felt pressure, confusion, or spiritual resistance, it's not because you're failing, it's because you're transitioning. One of the first challenges is the feeling of being in between, no longer connected to who you used to be, yet not fully anchored in who you're becoming. It's an emotional stretching, like stepping out of old skin. You don't fit your past, but you haven't grown fully into your future. This in-between space can feel disorienting, but spiritually, it's the bridge between identity and assignment. Another challenge is the rise of old insecurities. The very fears you thought were gone suddenly resurface, not to torment you, but to be confronted and broken once and for all. God is revealing the cracks so He can strengthen the foundation. You're not regressing. You're being made whole for where you're going. Then there's the battle of self-doubt. You begin to question whether you're ready, whether you're worthy, whether you heard God correctly. This doubt doesn't come from lack of faith. It comes from the magnitude of what your spirit senses is approaching. The greater the calling, the more your humanity trembles before it. That trembling is not weakness. It is holy reverence. You may also face unexpected emotional heaviness, waves of sadness, fatigue, or mental fog. Not because something is wrong, but because your spirit is shedding old layers. You're releasing burdens you carried silently for years. You're grieving versions of yourself you're no longer meant to be. Another hidden challenge is spiritual resistance. The enemy is subtle during your silent season because you pose no threat. But when your calling awakens, warfare increases, not to overpower you, but to intimidate you back into silence. The pressure you feel is not the sign of defeat. It is the sign of relevance. Darkness trembles when a chosen one rises. There is also relational shaking. People you thought would stay begin to drift. Connections that once provided comfort now feel distant or strained. Misunderstandings happen. Shifts occur. This isn't rejection, it's recalibration. God is removing distractions, misalignments, and emotional entanglements that would dilute your acceleration. And finally, a challenge many don't recognize: the fear of success. Not failure success, because stepping into your calling means embracing a version of yourself you've never fully seen before. It means accepting responsibility, authority, visibility, and growth. That can feel overwhelming, but it's also the doorway to your destiny. These challenges are not signs of misdirection. They are signs of emergence. You are being stretched because your capacity is increasing. You are being tested because your authority is rising. You are being refined because the weight of your calling requires strength. And through every challenge, God is not distant. He is shaping you with precision, guiding you through every internal shift, preparing you for what comes next. And now that the challenges have surfaced, there is something you must hear clearly. God is not awakening your calling without giving you direction. He is not stirring your spirit only to leave you navigating this transition blindly. Every awakening comes with instruction, personal, precise, and purposeful. And the guidance He is releasing in this season is meant to steady you, align you, and prepare you for what you are about to step into. The first instruction is simple, yet deeply spiritual. Slow down internally. Your life may feel like it's still moving at the same speed, but your spirit is shifting into a new rhythm. Do not rush this awakening. Do not force clarity. Do not pressure yourself to understand everything immediately. God is unfolding this calling layer by layer, and you must let your spirit breathe. Stillness will reveal more than striving. Peace will guide more than pressure. The next instruction is this: pay attention to what is pulling you. Not what is pushing you, what is pulling you. God does not shove his chosen ones forward. He draws them. The ideas, desires, and inner promptings that keep returning to you are not random. They are hints, clues, signposts. Notice what brings you peace, even when it scares you. Notice what keeps resurfacing in your spirit. Notice what God keeps highlighting, repeating, or confirming. Follow the pull, not the pressure. Another instruction: release what feels heavy but no longer holy. There are habits, relationships, responsibilities, and emotional attachments that served a purpose in your silent season, but cannot follow you into your calling. If something drains you, dims you, or distorts you, it is not part of the next chapter. God is not asking you to abandon loyalty. He is asking you to honor alignment. What he removes, he replaces. What he takes, he transforms. Here is another divine directive: strengthen your secret place. Your calling will not grow in noise, it will grow in communion. God is preparing to speak to you in ways that require sensitivity, clarity, and quietness of spirit. Spend time in silence. Sit with him without agenda. Let him recalibrate your heart. The more attuned you become to his voice, the more effortless your next steps will be. Another instruction: embrace the new identity forming within you. Stop trying to fit back into versions of yourself that God has already outgrown for you. Stop apologizing for your growth. Stop shrinking to match rooms you've already surpassed spiritually. You are becoming someone stronger, wiser, braver, and more aligned. Accept that. Walk in it. Let the transformation integrate into your thoughts, your decisions, and your posture. And finally, take the small steps he shows you. Your calling will not awaken all at once. God will give you instructions that feel small, simple, or subtle, but they are seeds. Obedience in small things opens doors to the larger ones. If he prompts you to reach out, do it. If he nudges you to study something, learn it. If he leads you to let go, release it. If he whispers direction, follow it without hesitation. This is a season where your spirit must move before your understanding does. God is guiding you one step at a time, so you can learn to trust his leading more than your logic. Every instruction he gives is part of your awakening. Every step you take is a response to his call. And as you follow these divine instructions, there is something you need to hold tightly in your spirit, something heaven wants you to feel. Not just know you are not walking into this awakening unprotected. The same God who stirred your calling is the God who shields it. The same God who whispered your next steps is the God who walks them with you. You are not exposed. You are not vulnerable. You are not stepping into unfamiliar territory alone. Because every time God awakens a purpose, he surrounds the person with supernatural covering. You may not see it with your eyes, but the protection around you has increased. The warfare you've felt recently isn't a sign that you're in danger. It's a sign that the enemy recognizes what you're stepping into. And the very fact that he's resisting is proof that heaven has already fortified you. If hell could have stopped you, it would have done so in your silent season. Not now. The awakening is evidence that the worst is behind you. There is an assurance settling over your life, even in moments of uncertainty. A quiet confidence rising within you, even when the path isn't fully visible. A peace that doesn't match your circumstances, but matches your calling. This peace is not accidental. It is the signature of God's presence. He is guarding your mind from the lies that used to unravel you. He is guarding your heart from the wounds that used to break you. He is guarding your steps from paths that used to distract you. You may feel pressure, but you are protected. You may feel stretched, but you are shielded. You may feel unsure, but you are surrounded. There are angels assigned to your transition. There is grace covering your next steps. There is favor going ahead of you, making crooked places straight. You are stepping into a season where God Himself becomes your confidence. Not your talent, not your resources, not your plan. His presence. And His presence does not accompany you casually. It accompanies you as a defender, a guide, a protector, and a confirmer of every word He has spoken over your life. So breathe. You are held. You are covered. You are seen. Nothing formed against you will prosper. Not because the attacks won't come, but because they cannot overpower what God has awakened in you. The battle is only a sign that heaven is backing you. The pressure is only proof that purpose is active. And soon this protection will not only sustain you, it will carry you into the fulfillment of everything God has been preparing you for. And as this protection surrounds you, something even more powerful begins to unfold the transformation. Not the subtle inner shifts you've been sensing, but the visible, undeniable emergence of the person you were always meant to become. Because when a calling awakens, identity rises, purpose aligns, destiny accelerates. What has been happening beneath the surface begins to break through like light piercing the horizon. This transformation will not be loud, yet it will be unmistakable. It will not be chaotic, yet it will be disruptive. It will not be dramatic, yet it will be life-altering. You will begin to notice that you carry yourself differently, not with arrogance, but with clarity. Not with pride, but with a grounded sense of who you are in God. The insecurities that once controlled you begin to lose their voice. The fears that once paralyzed you start to crumble under the weight of newfound boldness. Your spirit stands taller, even if your circumstances have not yet changed. This transformation is heaven unveiling you. People around you will sense it even before you speak. They'll see a light in your eyes, a new steadiness in your presence, a depth in your words, a purity in your intentions. The silent season refined you deeply, and now the refinement will show. You will begin to walk in authority you didn't realize you carried. Ideas will come with clarity. Opportunities will align effortlessly. Doors that once refused to budge will open with ease, not because of force, but because of timing. And as this transformation continues, you will witness fulfillment unfolding piece by piece. Not in sudden explosions, but in divine sequences. The right connection, the right moment, the right revelation, the right shift. God will begin to weave together things that seemed unrelated. Paths that once felt disconnected will converge. Delays that felt unfair will finally make sense. You will realize that nothing was wasted, not the tears, not the waiting, not the silence. Every moment was part of the blueprint. Every delay was part of the design. Every sacrifice was part of the preparation. And eventually, often, without even noticing when it happened, you will step into the very thing your spirit has been sensing all along. You'll find yourself doing what once intimidated you. You'll realize you've grown into the role you once doubted you deserved. You will experience divine alignment, where who you are matches what you're called to do. Fulfillment will not feel like a surprise. It will feel like recognition, like stepping into a room you've seen before in dreams, like meeting a version of yourself you've been waiting to become, like arriving somewhere that feels both new and familiar. This is the moment when heaven's preparation becomes earth's manifestation, when the invisible becomes visible, when the promise becomes reality. And in that moment, you will understand why the silent season was long, why the awakening felt sudden, and why God waited until now to release the fullness of your calling. Because the transformation was never just about your destiny. It was about becoming the person who could carry it. And now, as this awakening settles into your spirit, I speak these final words over you, not as mere encouragement, but as prophetic affirmation. Let them anchor themselves in your heart. Let them resonate through every part of your being. Let them seal the work God has begun in you. You are rising. You are awakening. You are stepping into the fullness of who you were created to be. The silent season did not break you, it built you. The delays did not deny you, they refined you. The confusion did not weaken you, it deepened you. You are stronger than you realize, wiser than you know, and more spiritually attuned than ever before. What once overwhelmed you no longer owns you. What once intimidated you no longer defines you. What once held you back no longer has permission to stay. You walk with clarity now. You walk with purpose now. You walk with divine backing now. Every step you take is guided. Every breath you breathe is protected. Every decision you make is aligned with heaven's timing. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on schedule, God's schedule. And I bless you with boldness to step into the places you once feared. I bless you with discernment to recognize every door God opens and every door He closes. I bless you with peace to silence every voice that rises against your calling. I bless you with strength to carry what God is entrusting to you in this season. I bless you with favor to walk into opportunities prepared specifically for you. May your spirit stay awake. May your heart remain steady. May your steps be ordered with precision and grace. And as this message becomes reality in your life, take a moment to claim it. Speak it. Declare it. Own it. If this word spoke to you, leave a comment below saying, "My calling is awakening." Like the video, subscribe for more prophetic messages and share this with someone who needs confirmation. Your silent season is over. Your calling is alive. And your next chapter has already begun.